Hey guys, I'm Peyton from Vamp East Coast, and today we have our 159 wheelbase Promaster that is officially for sale. So today we'll be doing a tour and I'll be showing you around. So first, as you're walking in, you'll see we have our refrigerator here. It is 12 volt AC and or DC depending on how you wire it. It's currently wired DC. We have a freezer here and then a full refrigerator with a nice door that swings open. I recently put it on a switch, which you can see back here. In case you don't have anything in the refrigerator, you can turn that off. Up top, you'll see we have our custom open-faced cabinetry, 4 units, so 1, 2, and in the back 3, 4, I'll show you. Although it looks completely open, it is deceiving. Tough to see here, but there are wires. It's like cargo net elastic that run parallel with the van all the way from the front to the back of the van to keep your belongings in. I've driven it across the country, Tennessee and back, with things in the upper cabinetry, and everything stayed as we wanted it to. Alright, so next, as we move toward the back of the van, have our plumbing and our sink. So swings open here, some nice soft close hinges installed, if you can see those. Our plumbing, so we have 2 6-gallon tanks. This is the fresh water, and this will be the gray water over here. We have an on-off switch and an easy disconnect, if you can see here. On-off when you want to fill or dump. Then you can pop this off. It's a quick, easy garden hose connection where it's one little button, push, and it pops off and then reconnects together. What we also have is the RV drain trap, which drains into the gray water tank over here. Nice, easy connection where that will slide out when you want to remove it. And when you want it to stay in, it's deep enough where it's not going to pop out. Each jug is secured with an elastic cord for in lower connections, and it's not moving. Alright, next, looking toward the back of the van, what we have here is the toilet and the cabinet that was built specifically for it. So this pops open. It has 2 magnetic catches and then a regular catch here where it's secured and doesn't open as you're driving. The toilet goes out and then slides right back into the cabinet. Up top here you can see the table that we have mounted on our Lagoon mount, which is perfect for a van as it swivels as far as you want it to. You can also secure and then remove it from the base if you did want it out of the way. The nice thing about these 2 ottomans here, if you disconnect this ottoman, swing it this way, it actually allows for a third person, small child, small adult, to sleep this way in the van. So you do see the queen size bed up top and this small singular bed if you'd like, and you have a third person to sleep in the van. So as you can see, we have a short queen bed. It's an 8-inch memory foam, beautiful comforter, and some nice black sheets, never used, just put them on today. But 8 inches of memory foam, and it is a super durable, super comfortable mattress. Underneath, it is slatted to allow for airflow. Sometimes in a van, mold can be an issue, especially under the mattress, as it's at times not breathable. In some vans, you'll see a full sheet of plywood, which will, in time, most likely gather up some moisture. But with these slats, it has room to breathe, and you can see it's open to the bottom. They also are secured at each end, and in between they are secured with some heavy duty Velcro. So if you ever were to need to break it down and take it apart, you can do so while still being safe as it's secured to the frame. Now over here we have 2 reading lights, which you can see, 1 here and then 1 toward the back, same exact lights, push button DC lights. And they are movable for, while you're in bed or while you're sitting here to read, and stretch it in any direction you'd like. What's nice about these is underneath they have USB plugs, each of them. You can charge your phone on either, and it's a quick, nice lighting fixture. Over here, what we have is our open wire basket, which I love. One thing I noticed about while using the vans is your keys get tossed around. They can go, missing on a bench, missing up front. That's something you don't want for safety reasons. You want your keys close to you. If at any time you need to hit the alarm, hit the lock button. So what I like to do is hang the keys right up here, right next to the bed. That way they won't go missing. And also room for gloves, hats, books, whatever you want to toss up there. Nice little wire basket. So as I've mentioned before, these cushions are also memory foam, And what you'll see underneath is a bunch of storage, both on this side and that side. Storage is so important in a van, and you want to maximize any space you can to stow away your gear and stow away your belongings. So like I said, they lift off and they entirely remove, and then you can replace them quick and easy. Pops right back in there. All right, so over here on this wall, this is sort of the brains of the whole van. What you'll see here is lights. They're under cabinet lights. They're on a dimmer switch, and super nice for when you're cooking or even in bed. It's a nice reading light to have, and I love that they're dimmable. They're 12 volt, they're DC. Love those, and love the switch as well. Love the black aesthetic that goes with the rest of the van. And below it, we have our battery monitor. Let me turn the back light on here. So if you can see this, our batteries are currently at 100%. The slow blinking that you see on the screen means that the batteries are currently charging. When that blinking stops, the batteries are entirely charged, no more power coming in. So what you see here is the battery itself. So it's showing 200 amp hours. Arrows are showing that it is charging. See 13.8 volts here. That is what the batteries are at, plus 0.4 amps. And then 5 watts is shown in the corner over here on the right. And the reason it's blinking is because the sun is out. The van is positioned in a location where the sun is shining on them. So we're bringing that in and converting into battery power. The button below is the inverter charger button. It's a simple one on, one off. For the inverter, you can hear that noise. That is the beeper that is telling us that it is on. The last thing you see up here is for our Max Air fan. It's a nice remote Max Air fan. So while you're laying in bed, sitting over here, you're not having to climb up there and manage the fan. An off switch, and you can control everything for the fan on this little remote. Thanks for watching. Stop back for part 3. Back here, as you can see, I installed a window. I chose one that had a nice slide on it. There is a screen, and there's also a lock on it for safety reasons. For when you close that window, you put down the lock and no one from the outside can slide it open. The nice thing about having a window in the van, it allows for ventilation. So with that fan that I've just mentioned, you can reverse the blades to pull or push air, and what this is doing is allowing for cross ventilation, where it's going to pull air across you and you'll feel that breeze. Whereas if that wasn't there, it would almost be like a vacuum in the van where the fan would be pulling and it doesn't have that ventilation allowance to give you that breeze and cool you down. Over here, this bench is a little bit different than the last. Similarly, the top is removable. And what we have in here, I've put this on a hinge to give access to our stove, which is nicely secured down in this ottoman. The stove is portable, which I love. This is super important to me to have portable cooktops. I know that it is possible to cook in a van if you can, but on a nice fresh day, I'd rather be cooking outside on a picnic table than I would in the van. When you cook in your house, the smell can linger, especially in a tiny house. You know, you have cloth in here, so you don't necessarily want the smell of your food on your bedding. So super easy, nice. It's 2-burner, great stove. I've used the same one. This is just a newer version in the past with a skillet, and I would recommend it to anybody looking for a portable stove. Down within, I've built a table that also acts as a shelf. So that stove goes on top of the shelf inside and then secures down. If you'd like, though, when you need, sometimes you're cooking either at a campsite or wherever you're boondocking and you may not have a table. So I like that this is dual use, again, maximizing your space, maximizing what you have in the van to use it in and to use it out of the van. I'll show you it removes. I built it to match the aesthetic of the van. As you can see, matches the cabinets, has some legs on it, perfect height to be a shelf inside that ottoman. And the other great part is, within this ottoman over here, we have our heater, which is mounted to the floor, and the Webasto screen controller is right behind it. So this is removable for when you're sitting. You can pop this up, turn it on, adjust it to the temperature you'd like, and then pop it right back on. It's super minimal, not in the way, and most likely you won't be using that year round, so you don't want it in your way. Like I said, Webasto is here, and down on the front face of the ottoman is where you're going to feel that heat. I put it as low as possible. As expected, heat rises, so you're going to want it close and at your feet to keep the rest of the van feeling warm. Over here, same as what I mentioned on this side, with the dimmable lights under the cabinets, we have the same switch with dimmable lights above. See them overhead, which light up the van. Super nice. And love the aesthetic. They're also black, the switch and the lights themselves. It's a cool light instead of a warm light. I think it looks great with this color and gives you some light for nighttime living. Now, before we head to the back of the van, I wanted to show you two more things. Number one, that fan that I mentioned, it is a Max Air fan with the remote, controllable from that remote, which is removable from the wall. This has an on-off. You'll hear the lid is opening up top, and the fan automatically turns on. You have a couple options for in and out. I can reverse it here, and it will automatically rotate in the opposite direction. It's also an auto temp, which is great. You can hold to set it. This says hold to set to 78. That's the button you'll see on here. You can adjust that temperature and the fan speed on the remote. And then you do have the option to open and close the lid here without turning it off. Lid coming back down, and the fan is off. Last thing I'd like to show you here is this curtain wall. What I like is a divider, as you'll see. I don't love when the bulkhead wall is still in. It doesn't give you that access from the front of the van to the back of the van as easy as this does. What you have is a typical curtain rod mounted on either end and black curtains to match the aesthetic of the van. These slide all the way, and then you can button them back as you'd like. Over here in our kitchen, we have our custom made countertop. I went back and forth with what to do for the countertop in this van many times. What we ended up with, Ryan, my boyfriend, and I put together this countertop. It is pallet wood, sealed with a heat resistant epoxy, colored gray and teal to match the van. And like I said, it is sealed, structurally sound, mounted to the van, both downward and backward, so it's not going anywhere, and this thing is hard as rock. With these curtains being secured as is, you can still access the space up top. Lots of extra storage room. My favorite thing to do is shove blankets and pillows in there. Nice space above the driving area. Some vans do not have that extra storage space. I love Promasters for so many reasons, one being this, that it allows for that extra cubby. Alright, now transitioning to the back of the van, what you see on this door, its driver's side door, is a telescopic ladder that is mounted in several sections. There are clips here, bungee cord here, and then another elastic here to secure that to the door as you're driving. And when you close that door, this ladder is not going anywhere until you need it to. Easy to remove. You're going to remove the bungee cords, remove the elastic, pop it out of the clips, like so. Remove the Velcro. And it extends as high as you need it to, even higher. What you can use this for is to clean your solar panels, some snow, leaves, whatever it may be. You need those solar panels clean in order to bring in as much solar power as possible. On the other door here, we have our pop-up tent for our exterior shower and a 15 amp to 30 amp adapter like this. You'll see, looks like a regular house plug. Here is what plugs into the shore power outlet that I'll be showing you in a second over here, and it adapts. And you can plug in at campsites with either the 15 or 30 amp to a regular extension cord. As I've mentioned, we have our shore power plug here. This pops open, that will plug into here. It secures on with a screw, adapts as needed. Everything here is weatherproof. We have the screws, this pops closed and seals, so you don't have to worry about any moisture with that. Back here, what you see is a fully enclosed electrical cabinet. What I've done here is made it secure, so when you're driving you don't hear any rattling, nothing will move. It is extremely secure. However, What I love is being able to access the batteries or the electrical system whenever needed. Something may need to be adjusted, especially when you're plugging in that shore power. That inverter needs to be off until it's plugged in, and then you can switch it back on. The nice thing is this is removable, as is the main box to the battery. I'll show you how. It is Velcro attached here to the longboard. 3 heavy-duty Velcro pieces secured here with brad nails. This slides out. It connects to the wall with latches, both upper and lower. And then you see the electrical system here. And this main is connected with latches in the back, high and low. And then there are beams as guide rails up top. And this pulls out when needed. It can slide out entirely. Pop back in here. And I'll show you around with the electrical system. First, what we have here is the charge controller. It is a 40 amp MPPT charge controller by Renogy. I've used it in this van and the last van. I love it. Super simple, adjustable on this screen. You also have the app via Bluetooth, and then the screen that I showed you up front to show you the current state of your batteries. That is connected to the solar panels up top, bringing in, going to the charge controller, and then bringing out, connected to a positive bus bar and a negative bus bar. That breaks off into a 12-volt DC fuse panel over here, which connects the water pump, the DC outlets, the overhead lights, the cabinet lights, the fridge, the fan, and the main dim lights. The inverter charger, what that does is inverting DC power into AC power, so 12 volt into 120 volt, meaning that you're able to plug in your cell phone, your laptop, your kitchen appliances to an outlet that I've installed up front in the van. Speaking of the batteries, we have 2 down here. They are made by Renogy. They're 100 amp hour each, and they're AGM batteries. And then one more super nice thing about this van is there is a controller called a DC to DC charge controller. It is currently connected to the batteries of the van and powers to charge these batteries. So 3 options, as I've mentioned: solar power, bringing in energy from the sun, power from your van batteries themselves, and then that shore power outlet that I've showed you here where you can plug into an extension cord. All of those intended to power these batteries, which powers everything in the van. You can boondock, you can be fully self-sustainable because of that solar and DC to DC charge controller, but if you are in a low light area, that's your outlet. Alright, so this is the garage space of the van. I left it nice and open. Some builders will put a piece of plywood between the inner living space and this back area. I did not and do not want to do that. I'm a big skier, snowboarder, so I like that my skis, if needed, can extend through the front of the van. Otherwise, there would be no place to store those. One last thing back here is the exterior shower. So we have the bottom, which you're going to put down so you don't have to stand and get your feet dirty in the mud. This is a self-contained shower, which I will add a picture of on the screen. Thank you for stopping in to watch the van tour video. As I've mentioned, this van is for sale. If you're interested, please check out my Instagram at @vamp_East Coast. Click the link in my bio and you'll find the listing with further details. Please leave a comment to let me know what you think, and stop back in the near future to follow along with my next build that will be used for rental purposes. Start planning your East Coast trips with this fun way to travel in mind.